The Dodgers are in town trying to avenge last year's World Series loss against quite possibly the best team in baseball. I'm Meghan Ottolini here in the Herald newsroom with John Sapichetti. So, Sap, the number one question I think on all Red Sox fans' mind is, how is Chris Sale feeling?
That's a big question, right? Because Chris Sale has been their ace all year. He really hasn't been a contributor in August and September. He opened up the American League Championship Series against the Houston Astros. He wasn't all that sharp, and then we know that he spent a night in the Mass General to deal with some sort of stomach issue. This
Possibly a belly button issue.
A belly button issue. Who would ever think that a baseball player would miss time because of a possible belly button that was infected from his belly button ring? I can't believe I had to utter that sentence, but I think he was just trolling us this weekend. I think it still has something to do with perhaps the anti-inflammatory pills that he's taking to deal with his shoulder. So obviously, if Chris Sale is lights out in Game 1, the Red Sox have that much better chance to win this series. They've gotten this far without Chris Sale being even effective in his starts, which is pretty amazing considering the opponents they played to get here, the Yankees and the Astros.
But you think this 10 days rest for him, is that a positive, a negative?
I think it'll be a positive. Again, he's dealing with some issue in that left shoulder, and I think the more rest you can get him to get amped up for that Game 1 is going to benefit him going forward. Normally, pitchers like to pitch every 5-6 days. In this case, I think the rest will help Chris Sale going into Game 1.
And in today's Herald, Jason Mastrodonato wrote about this issue kind of on a larger scale, with the Red Sox having more of a break coming off of the Astros series than, LA coming almost straight from Milwaukee back on the road to play the World Series. Who's in a better position in this question of rest versus rust?
That's always the question in these situations. The Red Sox wrapped it up Thursday in Houston, little celebration, come back home. They can get ready for the World Series. It's opening here, so there's no travel involved after they come back home. The Dodgers had to go to Milwaukee for Game 6, Game 7, continue on to Boston. So they're going to be somewhat of a tired team. That was a tough series against the Brewers, but sometimes that first game, there's so much adrenaline, energy that they can carry it over into Game 1. Sometimes you won't see a little bit of a slip up till Game 2 when you feel a little bit more tired, if you're the case of the Dodgers.
Any other keys for the Red Sox in this series?
Well, when you get to the National League Park, what do you do with your starting lineup, right? I mean, because you've got to have your pitcher hit, so that means Jackie Bradley Jr. most likely comes out of the lineup, or do you move Mookie Betts to second base? He can play second base, but now you're losing the best defensive outfielder in baseball. You would keep Benintendi in left, Jackie Bradley Jr. in center, and you put J.D. Martinez out in right. So you'd be much weaker defensively in right field than without Mookie Betts out there. Those are questions that Alex Cora is going to have to answer in Games 3, 4, and if necessary, Game 5. In the National League Park, it's a completely different game, more stress on the manager, which I think Cora will handle. He played in the National League. He understands that type of game, and I think he'll be just fine with it. But what's the decision going to be? Do you move Betts to second, which I wouldn't do because you lose that great glove in right field, or do you sit Jackie Bradley Jr., move Mookie to center, and J.D. Martinez in at right? See what happens when you get to the 3 games in Los Angeles.
What is your prediction for the series? I'll say I have Red Sox in 6. How are you feeling?
It's going to go long. It's going to be a long series. 3 of the last 4 World Series have gone 7 games. These 2 teams look like they will battle it out for 6, probably 7 games. I'm going to have to be the contrarian here. Hopefully I'm wrong. I think the Dodgers win this in 7, and I think Kershaw has 2 outstanding performances, ends up being the MVP of this series, and the Dodgers, 30 years since their last World Series trophy, a franchise that you always think of winning World Series.
Right.
I think they finally get that elusive World Series trophy this year, and they'll probably do it at Fenway Park. But again, I hope I'm wrong.
The Dodgers will be at the Red Sox tomorrow night, Tuesday night, for the first game of the World Series. Sap, thanks for joining me. And to follow all Red Sox World Series content, be sure to check out bostonherald.com.